Your Excellencies, President and Mrs. Joko Widodo of Indonesia, Your Excellency, the fourth President of Indonesia, Professor Hariri, the Coordinating Minister for Human Development and Culture of Indonesia, honorable ministers here present, the President of the Global Development Program at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, my friend Chris Elias, the Dean of the Faculty of Public Health at the Bloomberg School of Public Health at the Johns Hopkins University. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, friends and partners, good afternoon. I'm the only one distinguished here today who will make two speeches. I don't think there's anybody else who would have that distinguished privilege. And I'm going to start by delivering the speech that His Excellency, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, has sent to these distinguished audience. And it goes thus. I'm pleased to send greetings to the International Conference on Family Planning holding in Bali, Indonesia. I want to thank His Excellency, President Widodo, and the government and the people of Indonesia for generously hosting this event. Family planning is a human right. It's also a key that unlocks untold opportunities for individuals and nations. As we embark on a new era for development, family planning remains one of the best investments countries can make to achieve progress across the Sustainable Development Goals. Family planning saves lives. We have seen in countries around the world that maternal and child health improves when women have access to the services and the information that they need to freely decide the number, the timing, and spacing of their children. Fewer unintended pregnancies mean fewer maternal and infant deaths, and it means fewer abortions and fewer miscarriages. Family planning improves lives by empowering women and girls to make informed decisions about their bodies. It enables them to make informed decisions about how they will live, to seek education, and to stay in school, to develop the skills to find decent work, and contribute to the economic growth of their families, communities, and nations. As Secretary General of the United Nations, I hold high the banner of empowering women and girls, promoting their health and defending their rights. We have made great progress under the Millennium Development Goals, including through the Every Woman, Every Child movement. But the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development calls for us to leave no one behind. To do that, we must intensify our efforts. In September, we launched a new global strategy for women, children's, and adolescents' health to accelerate progress. The new strategy provides a roadmap for ending preventable deaths of women and children by 2030, and for ensuring that every woman, child, and adolescent thrives. In so doing, it can improve the lives of all people. We can count on the United Nations family to do its part, working together through partnerships like the H4 Plus group under the leadership of UNFPA as a core partner of the Family Planning 2020 initiative. We will continue to support countries with the greatest needs in reaching those left further behind with the life-saving information, services, and supplies they need, including and especially family planning. Let us work together to turn global commitments into local actions that ensure that every pregnancy is wanted, that every woman, child, and adolescent survives and thrives. It is in transforming their lives will transform our world. I wish you a productive conference. Ban Ki-moon. Now, let me now give my speech. It might not be as inspiring as the Secretary General, but I'll do my best. So let me start by saying good afternoon to all of you, and to welcome you to Bali, and to say that we finally made it. We were supposed to be here in November, but we couldn't do it. And I want to thank my friend, who actually has been the powerhouse behind this. Can you stand up, please, and let's celebrate you. Oye. So it was with great disappointment. I was actually in Nairobi coming to Bali when I heard about the earthquake, about the volcano. And volcanoes are often described as the earth giving birth to itself. And I'm grateful that Mother Earth has decided to space her births, giving us sufficient time to gather here again this week. We don't expect another one, but we thank the volcano for refreshing all of us. Let me again start and thank Mr. President and the government of Indonesia and the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population and Reproductive Health and the National Population and Family Planning Board of Indonesia for organizing this important conference. I think it's important for us to also state that this is the first significant conference we are going to hold after the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals. It's so important, so we take it in our mind that this is probably the most important thing that we all need to do, getting women to get family planning. The fact that we're all here today is a testament to the deep commitment we share of empowering women to be able to decide whether and when to have children, and to control their bodies and their lives. I've said it and I'll say it again, family planning is not health. Family planning is about rights and empowerment. Women must take charge of their lives and they must control their lives. And I think that is the most important thing. One of the greatest pleasures I have in this job is that I get to see many faces of family planning today. And when I speak about it because I've been in this business for more than 40 years. So I know the stories that we see speak to profound differences in family planning in many parts. And I will tell you a story of Aisha, who was 12 when her parents took her out of school to help out with their family farm. She was married when she was 14, and she had a child when she was 15. We hear this story every day, wherever we go. And for many girls, that story continues predictably with more children, fewer opportunities, poor health for her and her children, and poverty, which just compounds it. But Aisha was one of the lucky ones. She actually brought her baby to a health clinic for immunization. And when she got there, she received information about family planning. And she was referred, of course, predictably, to UNFPA-supported family planning site. And she was then counseled. She took the counsel, And she was able to space out the birth of her children from then on. She not only took that counsel, she also decided to take on the education of girls and women in her community about planning their families and where to obtain services. So she was able to give back to community. She also decided to go back to school and continue her education. So she is a success story, but there are not many of them like that. So access to family planning saves and transforms lives like that one. And it's one of the best investments, as you heard, that we can make in health and well-being of people of the planet. Enabling women, every woman, every child, every girl to exercise their reproductive rights requires multiple factors to be in place and support in many sectors. The Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda, which I referred to, that we begin implementing this year, gives us the opportunity to pull all of these pieces in the puzzle together. Ensuring access to family planning will be vital not only for achieving the SDGs relating to health, equity, and rights, but also in terms of all the 17 goals. You cannot do one goal without the other. And I think we need to understand that. Family planning offers a pathway out of poverty for families and nations. It helps the adolescent girls, like Aisha, prevent unintended pregnancy and continue their education. Women with control over their reproductive health are more empowered and able to develop the skills and self-esteem needed to seek and keep better jobs. We need to get women back to the workplace. I've just come back out of Davos, and one of the metrics I took out of it is that if we can get all the women in the world to go to work, the GDP of the world will grow by $13 trillion. I mean, think of that. If we can get all of them to go to work. So we're not just talking about family planning, we're talking about empowerment of women to have skills to be able to participate, like you and I, men, to participate in the workplace. And as a result, families will be far off financially. Communities will be better. Children are more likely to receive better education and nutrition. And then we can trigger this cycle of prosperity and health that will carry on to the next generation. So we'll have a generation free of poverty and ill health. When fertility declines and the right policies and investments are put in place to empower, to educate and employ young people, especially in countries with large youth population, and you've heard twice now, 3 times, that the largest generation of young people in the world are coming into, I don't think they're coming, they're already here. They are in their reproductive ages. So this is the time to act. And this country, Indonesia, is one example. Indonesia has a large youth population. And I want to congratulate Mr. President for focusing on the demographic dividend that you can achieve training, equipping, and giving your young people all of the skills they need to participate in your economy. So we need to target, those investments on human capital. And in that whole framework, you cannot do it without family planning. Family planning is central and key to it, and we have to do it. So giving the women the choice of whether and when to have children and enable them to play a greater role in conserving natural resources, because, again, it is about people and planet. It's not just about the people alone. Preserving the environment and would help them keep their communities and also participate in the climate change agenda, which we have all agreed to. So we put all these pieces together, but in putting them together and in making sure that we can get it, we require partnerships. We cannot do it alone, and given what we have seen with the SDGs, and given what we had with the Addis Ababa Declaration, it's about partnerships. Partnerships on the ground, especially in countries, to be able to do this in a very coordinated manner. And we are all agreed in the system that we must work under the leadership of the countries. Countries must own their program, and we must work with them and provide support directly to governments. As head of UNFPA, I have seen firsthand the power of partnerships, especially on the ground with women and girls and the service they need and require. And Chris Elias and I, we co-chair the Family Planning 2020 Reference Group, and I've seen the power of partnership there, galvanizing global commitments, aligning agendas, deepening engagement, and sharpening our collective focus. As we approach the midway of the FP 2020 goal, it is time to reflect on what we have learned, take stock of where we are and where we have to move together as a community with greater urgency towards our common goal, reaching the 120 million more women and girls with voluntary, right-based family planning by 2020. We have made some progress, but it's not enough. In 2015, we had an additional 24.4 million women and girls who were using modern contraception in the 69 FP 2020 countries. But that's 10 million fewer than we had hoped to achieve at that time. If we continue at that rate, we risk missing our objective and leaving millions of women and girls without the care and services that we actually committed to. So we need to recommit ourselves as program countries, as international systems, and as donors to be able to do this. There are more women and men of reproductive age than ever before. We need to ensure we can provide for their sexual and reproductive health care needs. Yet, this is the time where resources seem to be dwindling. 2014 saw the biggest annual decrease in donor support for contraception in over a decade, a decline of over $20 million from 2013. Donor support has already fallen back to 2012 level. In other words, before we had the London Summit. So we have to rededicate ourselves and make sure that we do this. So there's a global financing crisis in family planning. But I want to thank the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the new input they've made. I think that we need all our donors to do this in the same like manner. But I want to say, sustainability does not come from the Gates Foundation or from donors. It comes from countries. So countries have to step up and make sure that they provide resources for their family planning. Family planning is a continuous program. It cannot be driven by donors. Countries must step up and look after their people. If commodity supply investments stay steady and does not keep pace with population growth for just 1 year, the consequences will be a decrease for reduced of over 0.5% of contraceptive prevalence. And that does not happen. And in 46 countries where we provide support, we have seen that, and it has caused consternation for increased maternal death and all of that. Now, since 2007, we have provided, the program has provided more than contraception for more than 700,000 lives in our program, and over $2 billion in direct health care spending in countries with highest maternal mortality and highest unmet need for family planning. Now, we believe that the UNFPA supplies is key to the achievement of FP 2020 goals because we support almost a third of the modern contraception in the FP 2020 countries. Now, it ensures that shelves are stocked, providers are trained, supply chains are fully functional, country plans and strategies committed to reaching the most vulnerable, the poorest, and the hard-to-reach populations with their choice of family planning method. I'm going to speak to two of those. First is the young people. 2 billion of them wanting family planning. We have to do something about it. We have to be innovative in reaching them, and we have to ensure that they not only get information, but they get services. The second, and I think this is something that you probably don't know, is that 43% of maternal deaths in the world today occur in crisis. 43%. So if we are going to look after, and crisis is what the world is all about today. We have all sorts of crises in terms of conflict and in terms of the issues of climate change. So we need to target, we need to be able to be there, provide them the services and what they need. In fact, there was a lady in Nepal where we went there looking at what had happened in Nepal, and she said, we cannot prevent earthquakes, but we can prevent pregnancies. We can look after our women. We can make sure that they get the services. We can make them healthy. We can ensure that what we do collectively and singly as communities and those who are converted, who believe in this matter, can reach every woman, every girl, everywhere, making sure that we don't leave anybody behind. We must not do so. 2020 is for the 69 countries, 120 million. But 2030, which is the FP 2020 objective, but 2030 is the objective which Mr. President and his colleagues are signed to bring the world into harmony, into dignity, making sure that no woman, no girl, no adolescent is left behind, and that they live happy, dignified lives. We can do it together. Let's do it. Thank you.